Hello and welcome to The Inquisitive Crafter. I'm Katrina Stewart from Crafty Jacks, and today I'm going to be talking to you about winding a plying ball from your Turkish spindle. So when you have finished spinning on your Turkish spindle, it actually creates a center pull ball for you. And one of the things that I like to do from that is to create a plying ball. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I find that if I've created a really big turtle, it just gives me something a little bit smaller to work with, and it helps me to manage my singles when I go to ply. So to start with, to take apart your spindle, you pull that shaft out, you slide the one arm out, and you slide the other arm out. And you have the little center where you started from, and the other part of your single that's wrapped around the outside. Now I use little felt balls to create my plying balls, and they're just about 1 inch in diameter. They can be made up of old fleece or anything that you can felt. You can even use like bad singles or leftover singles and just wind them really tight and then felt them. You just want something that's somewhat firm and that will hold a little bit of space at the beginning of your ball so that your singles don't get wrapped up on themselves. So next what you're going to do is you're going to take the two ends of your singles and start wrapping them around your ball. I'm just going to switch these into my other hands. And what you want to do is keep a little bit of tension and space on those so that they line up quite nicely. And you just start wrapping them around like this. You want the singles to sort of not join, but lay next to each other as they're winding around your ball. And you just change directions. You're keeping a lot of tension on those singles so that they're not wrapping up on themselves or making little curly cues. You're keeping your fingers quite close together with the wrapping so that you're not allowing space to happen. And you're sort of turning the ball as you go to allow that space. And you can see that if you're doing this with really active singles, you can sometimes get a little curly cue going. Just give it a little bit of space, stretch it out, and you'll be fine. I sometimes like to keep a finger close to the ball in between my two singles to help give them space so that they don't wrap up on themselves when I'm working with them. You can see that my turtle has somewhat collapsed as I'm working here, and this is one of the reasons that I like to create a plying ball when I'm working from a Turkish spindle turtle, because they can tend to collapse on themselves, and then you're trying to deal with a mess when you're in the middle of plying, and it can be really quite frustrating. So I just find that organizing my singles beforehand just gives me a nicer experience when I'm plying, when I'm working with a spindle. So I'm just going to continue wrapping in this until all of these singles are wrapped up into a plying ball. You can see that that is getting smaller as I go. And again, I'm keeping tension through my fingers. That finger is in between to give it space. And just winding along, making sure that this ball is nice and tight. Wind, wind, wind. Now, when you go to ply, you're going to want to remember what direction you spun your singles in so that you will ply in the opposite direction. And the same goes for when you're plying from a plying ball. You are still going to ply in the opposite direction. You're not adding any twist by winding this into a ball. You're just giving them a place to hang out together and relax. If your singles are really active when you go to do this, if you haven't allowed them to rest for about 24 hours before you go to wind your plying ball, you might have a lot of trouble where your singles sort of start to create curly cues and things like that. And so giving your singles time to rest is always a really good idea. About 24 hours is all you really need. And I know that that can be hard to wait sometimes because you're so excited to have finished. When you get close to the end, you can just pull your 2 singles apart like this and wind. Again, keeping that tension on it so as not to create any curly cues in your plying ball. And there you go. You are done. Now you can take this little end and tuck it underneath one of the other singles to keep it in place until you're ready to ply with it. And there you go, a nice little ball to ply from. So thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have questions that you would like us to answer in a future video, please send your questions to ask@craftyjacks.ca. That's ask@craftyjacks.ca, and we will do our best to do that for you. Again, thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.